Hi Instagram. Hello all the ThermoFit challengers that are going to be joining in starting tomorrow, and to anyone else who's tuned into the live to hear a little bit about starting a healthy lifestyle and some tools for success. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late. I smashed my phone last night of all nights right before the live, and I literally had to be at the shop at 9 o'clock for it to open, and I've just finished setting it up. So apologies for being a few minutes behind. But thanks for tuning in. I would love to know whereabouts you're watching from. Are you in Australia? Are you in Europe? Are you in the States? Whereabouts in Australia are you if you are joining in from Australia? I'm currently on the Gold Coast, in the lower Gold Coast. So I would love to hear where you are. Canada, awesome. Thanks for being here, Cynthia. Gold Coast as well, awesome. Good to have you here, Jess. New South Wales, beautiful. WA, awesome. I think that Queensland, I don't know about other states, but I just learned yesterday that we have another long weekend this weekend on Monday, Labor Day or something. And 3 long weekends in a row. That's crazy. But I mean, for someone like me, it doesn't matter because you run your own business and I'll be working, challenge starting, lots going on. So we've got Gold Coast, Ipswich, Wollongong. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. So if you don't know what we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about a healthy lifestyle, but specifically getting started in that healthy lifestyle. Like, what are the aspects that make a healthy lifestyle successful, and some things that you can do in order to make that a long-term successful journey? Because I'm sure we've all done diets before and short-term kind of things that didn't necessarily last long, and it's not fun. It's a lot of effort to just stop and go back the other way. And on that note, I'd love to hear about some of the other things that you've done that have maybe possibly worked for you during, but you found weren't sustainable. So I really want to open up a conversation here and get you guys engaging and telling me about things that you've done before, things that I'm not saying that short-term things don't work. They probably do work in the short term while you're doing them, but they may not last. So, and that's what we all want. We want to make changes that stick, not changes that are just hard for a short time. So if you could chime in and tell me things that you've done before that maybe didn't last or didn't work for you. Maybe if they worked for you at the same time as you were doing it, but maybe not in the long term. So programs that you need to access to constantly, money outlay. Yeah, okay, so that tells me that it's a program that you follow, but you don't understand the reasons why you follow it, so that you can't carry on the principles afterwards. That's what tells me, and that's one of the things I'm going to talk about today in the call. Cynthia's in the 3rd week of my challenge. Awesome. That's so good to hear. Thank you for jumping on. Counting Carbs. Yeah, a great name. Is your name Noni as well? That's awesome. That doesn't happen very often. Yeah, counting carbs. I used to also teach people and take people through a program with counting. You won't find any counting in my ThermoFit program because I've kind of based it on the balance, the approximate balance that I've seen work for most people without having any of the counting. So you can just completely take your mind off that and not have to worry about that. Calorie deficit worked, but haven't continued on as well. Yeah, so unless you're going to count calories for the rest of your life, it's not going to be sustainable. And also we change. Like as we get older, we're going to need to burn more calories to have the same result. So yeah, I don't believe in calories, especially like long term. That's a whole nother live. But yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think it's important to understand a little bit about what types of energy is in foods, and what kind of energy is needed to burn those things off, but in a long-term way. No. So thanks so much. If you're just joining in now, thanks for joining, and tell me where you're from. I'd love to know where you're from. We've got some people from around the world so far already. So I won't want to keep you too long on this live on your Saturday. So basically, I'm talking about starting on a healthy lifestyle, and I wanted to talk about this topic because my ThermoFit 6-week challenges are starting tomorrow. And so a lot of them will be joining in on the call, but I wanted to talk about it in a general sense as well, because there's a lot of people going through healthy lifestyle changes and realizing the importance of health at this time. So whether you're doing the ThermoFit challenge or not, see what you can take away from these principles and put them into practice in your life. Now, this comes from my experience of since 2009, so a long time of working with one-on-one with clients and their goals, and it was mainly towards weight loss. So I've broken this call, like there's so much I could talk about, honestly, but I've really had to narrow it down to keep the time down, but also just to keep it nice and simple for you guys. So I've wanted to break it down into two main components, and the two main components of any healthy lifestyle journey is mindset and then the action taking, like the doing, the physical aspect. So mindset and the doing, the action taking. So I'm going to give you approximately 4 different points on each of those components, the mindset and the action taking. Now, I think mindset is the most important because any one of us can do and take action for a certain amount of time, but if we don't have the mindset to that matches what we're doing, we could just stop doing those actions, or when we reach the target, we stop doing those actions, and then that's not sustainable, that's not long term. So everything I talk about and do, I'm just going to bang on about being long term. So bear with me on that. So I would love to know, when you've done any lifestyle journey or changes or challenge or diet, what mindset principles have you put into place that you found worked, or did you not even put the mindset principles into it and you feel like that's what you may need? So I would love at any time chime in and tell me what mindset things that you did that worked for you during any kind of diet or anything that you've done before. So feel free to type it in anytime. But the first one, the first one was really finding your why. So the first mindset principle, I'm going to start with mindset, by the way. So the first principle and the most important is discovering your motivating factors and understanding what your why is. Now, this is something that you need to go deep on. I recommend that you act like that annoying little kid that keeps saying, but why? But why? And just to get to the bottom of it. Okay, so when you say, okay, what's your motivating factor? For example, I'll use, I want to lose weight. But why do you want to lose weight? Well, I want to be healthier. But why? Why do you want to be healthier? And that's when the mind starts ticking. Okay, why do I really want to be healthier? Well, yeah, you go through all the things. I want to feel better. But you can go deeper than that. Why do you want to be healthier? Well, it's to set a good example for my kids. So my kids can be healthier. And my kids can only be healthier if they learn at a young age, because that's what their parents do. So at the end result, when you're going deep, and there's multiple examples of this, I'm just throwing out one of them that's a big one for a lot of parents. is that I am doing this for me, but it's also for my kids and their future, and so that I can be there for them, but also that they learn the principles as well, and I'm a good example, and I'm setting the example and normalizing a healthy life. Not to say that things have to be crazy all the time. Of course, I'm going to talk later about there being relaxed time. Nothing's perfect. But the end kind of motivating factor that we get to the bottom of by asking that, but why, is that they want to be healthier. It's not even about the weight loss that we first thought. That's like a symptom. That's not the overall goal, because if the weight loss and there was a number there was the end goal, as soon as you reach that, game over. Everything stops. So you've really got to discover your motivating factor and your reason why for starting. And it's a really good idea to even write these down twice a day, right before bed, right when you wake up, or at least read them or have them on the fridge, because these are constant reminders that are in your face to keep you motivated as you go and to keep your mindset on track with why. So I've seen a couple of comments come through about not thinking too much about food and having the mindset that certain foods aren't the enemy, and I totally agree with that. That kind of brings me to my next point, which is letting go of perfection and any kind of guilt mindset. So letting go of perfection and a guilt mindset. I want to ask you a hypothetical question. It's how many times have you beaten yourself up about something not being perfect or made yourself feel guilty? And did that work? Did anything change from that? So I believe that if guilting ourselves and having a perfection mindset worked, we'd all be perfect and where we want to be by now. But it clearly doesn't work. We need to let go of that. Now, we also need to understand that we are rewiring our brain and our habits, some of which that we may have had for a really long time. So therefore, it's not just the flick of a switch, is it? It's not going to be that simple. It's going to take time. Therefore, it's not going to be perfect overnight and when we start. So that just simply needs to go. It's progress, not perfection. And the biggest thing that we can do with that is just recognize when we're having those thoughts, when we're having that guilt mindset, when we're having that need for perfection, and just release it and let it go. Acknowledge it, notice that you're doing it, and then release it and let it go. So another example is that if we do continue to have that perfection mindset and we want to do everything at 100%, that means that when we slip up, and we will slip up because we cannot hold anything at 100% for too long, it means we're pretty much going to go 100% the other way. So I'll use an example of Friday night comes around, you've been good all week, Friday night comes around and you have some pizza. If you guilt yourself and you're striving for perfection, most likely you're going to go, oh, I screwed up, I had a blowout, I'm just going to start again on Monday. And subconsciously giving yourself permission to just eat shit for the rest of the weekend and start again on Monday. And that is not, we all know that is not going to help you. It doesn't matter the days, it doesn't matter the meal. Just let it go and get on with it and stay on track and go back to your motivating factors and your reason why. So that is number 2 of the mindset aspect. The third one is and just let me know any questions or anything you have during this, just jump in, or if you're just joining, thanks for joining. Hi, Andrew. Jump in and say hi, where you're joining from today, and any questions you want to know. But if you're just joining, I just am talking about getting started on a healthy lifestyle and the two components, mindset and the action taking. I'm on mindset, a few tips about that, and then I'll move on to the action taking, and I'll answer any questions that you have about the challenge. But if you have any questions or anything you want to say about what I'm talking about during, go right ahead and jump on in. So the third one is about letting go of any belief that you may have that restriction equals results. So, yeah, Noni says, I wish I had a pen. Please pop up a post. Yeah, I'll try and make sure that this live gets saved to the feed, guys. So at any time you can come back to it. So don't worry about that. Having to remember all of this is going to be a challenge in itself. So removing any belief that restriction equals results. This is programmed into many of us and conditioned into many of us to think that when we need to get results, we need to cut out this 100%. We need to stop doing this all the time. The more restrictive something is, the better results we're going to get from it. Like, that is simply not true. It may be happening at that time. Like I was saying before at the start of the call, the restriction, you may get results from restriction. I don't doubt that. But is there any point in restricting yourself if it's only going to last a short time? And then as soon as you stop doing that restriction, everything that you've worked for just comes back. What's the point in that? It's a lot of wasted effort. So we need to change our lifestyle in a slower way so that it can be sustainable long term. And I'll talk about that more in the next one. So I also believe that the more restrictive something is, the shorter time you'll be able to manage it for. And you may get those quick, short-term, instant gratification results that make you feel really good. But that scale is going to tip. And when you can no longer keep up those actions, those results are no longer going to come. And then we're going to fall into the guilt mindset again. And we're just going to go on that loop again. And then with the yo-yo dieting again, we'll get the motivation to start something again, we'll restrict it, we'll maybe change it or do the same thing and try and do better at it or longer at it. And that's just not on a good wheel. Then the fourth one and the last one I'll talk about on our mindset is accountability. And this can come in many different forms. So when you start a challenge, any goal, like let's say you want to do a triathlon, for example, and you haven't signed up for it yet, but you start to tell everybody in your circle of friends and family that you're doing a triathlon on this date, and you start putting it out there. That attaches a form of accountability. The more people you can tell about it in your support network, the better. So this can also be what you can do in yourself. So you might track your progress through social media or journaling, or my favorite one is having a dedicated accountability buddy. So pick a friend of yours or a family member or someone you know, and I'll talk about in a sec who's suitable, but pick somebody that you know that you can check in with weekly or daily and just send a message of an update of how you're going. And this serves two purposes. One, it gets you to actually think about the good things that are happening and what you could potentially work on better. And it also then puts it out there for someone else to ask you some questions and dig a little bit deeper on that. Now, it's really important who you choose for this, because your comfort zone will want to choose the friend that goes, oh yeah, that's okay that you ate that. It must have been hard. You had a busy week, blah, blah, blah. The enabling person. You want to choose the person that you know in your life that will not take your bullshit excuses. Sorry if you've got kids in the car or something, but you want to choose the person who's going to call you on your crap and say, no, you could have done better. That's not good enough. Or, you know, why do you think that happened? Just asking good thought-provoking questions and holding you accountable. So accountability is a big one. In the ThermoFit challenge, I've got an accountability tracker where every day and every week it's completed, where you fill in, just it's tracking things that you've done through the week. But then there's also some questions of like, what worked really well this week? What did you do really well? Because we need to boost ourselves up and give ourselves credit for the things that went really well. But we also do need to be honest with ourselves and ask ourselves what we can do better at next week. And remember, it's not what we can be perfect at next week. It's what we can just do a little bit better and start to manage those things a little bit better each time. So I hope that mindset thing's been helpful so far. So if you've just joined, we've talked about the 4 components of the mindset aspect of starting a healthy lifestyle challenge, which is find your motivating factors and your why and go deep. And you can also look at Simon Sinek, Start With Why. He's really good with this to step you through it. We talked about then letting go of perfection and a guilt mindset. We talked about then removing any beliefs that restriction equals results. And then accountability, how to have some accountability for the long term. Now, I want to talk about the actions, the physical aspect, the doing side of a healthy lifestyle. What we can potentially do, or what are the best things that I believe need to be done in order to set up a healthy lifestyle change that's for the long term. Hey Johnny, good to see you here. So I've got 4 main points on those as well. And the first one of those is, and a lot of these are they interchange between the mindset behind it and the actual doing behind it, because they cross over a lot, and you'll see what I mean. So slow and steady. Number 1, slow and steady. The slower something is, the more sustainable it is. This is because the slower something is, it gives our mindset time to catch up to what we're doing. It gives us time to really solidify our habit changes, which is a really big one. It's all about changing habits. So, we can do anything for a short amount of time, like I mentioned before, but the slower that you do something, the more that it becomes a long-term habit and includes it in part of your routine. So slow and steady. Change just one thing at a time, master that, and move on. I recommend setting a really small goal each week of something that you can do, like something that you can do better at this week. Mastering that for the whole week and having that be your main focus, and then moving on to what you can improve on again from that next week. So remember, when we go from 0 to 100, we're going to go from 100 to 0. We want to climb incrementally, 10% better, 10% better, 10% better, until we're at a spot that it's just easy. It's not hard anymore. So, and also, like, if we're going for weight loss, for example, like in a physical aspect, if you've got a lot of weight to lose, the slower that you do it, the better it is for your body as well. It's not a shock. You won't have as much looser skin afterwards, like things like that. So slow and steady wins the race, in my opinion there. This is also why in the ThermoFit program, I have a different focus every week, because we know there's multiple aspects to a lifestyle change in total. But if we just want to have like one kind of focus each week. So for example, the first week is our get ready week. That's what's on Sunday through to the following Saturday, where we're not even eating from the menu yet. We are doing things like our goals, our measurements, cleaning out any temptations in our fridge and pantry, doing the shopping, doing some meal prep here and there. It's a slow start. Then week 1 is preparations, settling into that new way of lifestyle. Then week 2 is mindset. Week 3 is nutrition, where we learn all about nutrition. Week 4 is exercise. We learn about exercise. We may set some small exercise goals. Week 5 is like self-care. Week 6 is sustainability and bringing it all in. So that's just an example of having one kind of focus at a time, mastering that and moving on. Thanks for those of you joining just recently. Let us know where you are coming in from and where you're joining from. Just gonna have a sip of my decaf coffee. Number 2 from the actions is planning in advance. So yes, it's true that things don't always go to plan, and that is totally okay. But when you do have a plan in place, you are so much more likely to stick to that plan, and that plan is way more likely to happen. And it's okay if it doesn't happen 100%, but if you have the plan in place, you're really helping set things up for success. So this comes in a few different forms. The main ones that I recommend planning for success is like planning in ahead of the week with your exercise. Hi, Nico's mom. Thanks for joining from Argentina. Awesome. Good to have you here. Now, planning ahead of time, this can come in the form of exercise. So looking at your calendar, looking at your week and saying, okay, I'm going to put my exercise sessions in here, here, and here. From New Zealand. Awesome. That's Catherine, I think. So then this doesn't have to be as in like hardcore exercise. This could be just going for a walk, anything. You're just looking at your timetable of the week and you're saying, I'm going to commit to doing my exercise here, here, and here this week. If it needs to change, it needs to change. That's fine. Meals. So planning ahead with your meals. So this is why it's really useful to have that 6-week meal planner with ThermoFit done for you. But also, if you're not following a meal plan and you're setting that up for yourself, another way you can plan ahead is to always create an extra serve of a meal and have that set aside in the freezer for those times where the plans go to crap and you cannot be asked to cook, and your old self or your old habit would be to Uber Eats or grab some takeaway on the way home. But since your previous self or your past self has set aside a healthy meal from something they cooked a couple of weeks ago, and you've got that in the freezer, you can easily change that and say, no, I'm just going to take that out of the freezer and eat that tonight. And I tell you, it's those tiny little things that make massive differences over time. Those tiny things really do compound into big results. So it's doing stuff that your future self needs. And you know that because life happens. So it might be having, like for example, I'll say what I always have, some like crumb. I have a healthy crumb in my ThermoFit program, and I always have some of that in a jar in the pantry. And then I can just pull out like a piece of fish that I have from the freezer. I usually have some seafood in the freezer or something there. Chicken, salmon, or some like white fish. And I can crumb that, or even tofu works well, or prawns. I crumb that, I quickly fry it up, I add whatever vegetables or pull together a salad with what I have. So that's just like a super quick, easy meal that I can always kind of go to when the times I don't feel like cooking. Or another thing is having like some of the laksa paste. I'll always have some laksa paste in the freezer, and all I need to do is add a can of coconut milk and whatever veggies and protein I have on hand, and I've got a meal in 20 minutes as well. And of course, as you know, with the Thermomix, like that's just cooking away while I'm relaxing or stretching or having a shower or finishing off some work or whatever it might be. So planning ahead with your meals is something that will really help you as well. Another one, planning your self-care in. So again, when you're looking at that schedule and you're planning in your exercise, plan in the times where you're going to do some stuff for you. So planning your self-care. I did this week as well. Like, I don't do it every week, but I made a bit of a list and I was like, okay, my self-care this week is I had a bath. I've got a massage booked in this afternoon. You know, it's things like that that you make it happen. When these things are planned into your schedule, you can work on them and they end up happening. So the self-care, but then the biggest one I think is planning in your treat times. And this may sound a little weird, but I'm a big advocate for the 80-20 rule. So I talk about this lots in the ThermoFit Challenge, and I think it's one of the biggest things that's transformed people's mindsets toward it. They do it and it transforms their mindset towards it, because they know that they can still be on track 80% of the time and 20% of the time not, and still reach their goals and still be on track. And a quick example of what that looks like is that if someone's eating, 3 meals and a snack a day, an example of what 20% treat time would look like would be up to 4 things per week that you could have that were considered bad or treat times every week and still be on track. So I don't know about you, but let me know if any other diets or programs or restrictive things that you've done before said, hey, you can have four times on this program while following this. You can just do what you want. It's pretty unheard of, and I don't know about you, but to me, having 4 things in a week that I can do that aren't necessarily considered good things is a lot. And 80-20 is something I go into a little bit more detail with in the challenge. But 4 things. So you might also be looking at your calendar again and say, well, I've got a function on Friday night, I've got a brunch on Sunday, and I've got date night with hubby on Friday. So if you're on a challenge and you have that perfection mindset, that is seriously going to stress you out. But you can plan for those things in advance of time, knowing that you've got them on, and focus on staying on track the rest of the time and totally enjoying those things that you do when you're out at that function, and choosing whatever you want on the menu, eating something that comes around that you're like, oh yeah, that looks yum, I want to do that, without having the guilt attached to it. So planning in your 20% treat time is huge. It's a game changer. One thing I do recommend though is, let's say that 20% treat time equals the 4 things per week for you. I would also, in my 80-20 rule, I talk about just scheduling in 3 of those. And then you've got 1 that's in credit, so that when life happens or shit happens, oh, I'm not even past my 80-20, I'm still on my 80-20. So planning in 3 of them and having 1 just there in case something comes up. And something will most likely come up. It might not be every week, but something will most likely come up. So my 80-20 rule is my favorite rule for sustainability long term, and it's one that a lot of people love and apply into their life. So planning in your 20% treat time is a game changer as well. Any questions on that, let me know, but there's a lot more to it that I go through in the challenge. So that's probably all for the planning in advance. Now, the third one I think is just making simple swaps or finding alternatives for the things that you love and swapping them for healthier things. So what does that look like? As an example, I love pizza. Like, I don't know many people that don't like pizza, but it's not something that I want to put in my body every single week, or every night or whatever. So I've worked out a way, I've found healthier alternatives. I think there's like 3 or 4 alternatives for pizza in the program that are healthy things that you can eat more frequently without the guilt. So, I had to say to myself, well, what can I eat that's going to give me the feeling of eating pizza and knowing that I'm not missing out on that, but something that I can eat all the time that's going to nourish me. And so then I got to work on creating recipes that were different bases, because it's, generally the base that's the most unhealthy part of the pizza. So, one of them, for example, it's a crunchy one you can pick up and hold, called crunchy pizza, and that's made out of like nuts and seeds. And then another one is made out of pumpkin. Another one is made out of meat. Like, you may have seen pizza before. It's basically like a really thin minced meat patty that's the base of the pizza with the toppings. Like, that's great. And then you can just have all vegetarian toppings. So things like that. It's about finding healthier alternatives or just basic swaps. And that's a lot of what the ThermoFit program is. It's just healthier ways to enjoy things that are regular family favorite foods that may not be so healthy for you, but things that you love and you don't want to cut out all the time. Just seen a question from Brooke. So is the first week prep week? The first week of the challenge, starting tomorrow, is the first week. It's called Get Ready Week. You don't eat from the meal plan yet. You will go into your members login. You'll have a tab for Get Ready, and it'll have a list of things that are to be completed in the Get Ready week. And then the eating from the menu plan starts on the May 8th, the Sunday. Well, that's our last chance to get everything ready. So no rush if anybody's thinking, oh, it starts tomorrow, I'm not going to have time to do my shopping and my meal prep and then start eating everything on Monday. You've got a week to get ready, because I've seen that people need that. People buy last minute and then they can't possibly get everything ready, and it's too much, it's too stressful, it's too overwhelming, and they don't start. But I want to give you that full week to do that, to get everything ready that you need to get ready, and nice and easy in a non-stressful way, and then you can get started on the following week. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad that you're happy about that, Brooke. Okay, and then, so we talked about just then healthy swaps. So it might be, you love pizza, find a healthy alternative for pizza. You love rice, use cauliflower rice. All these things I've done in the program for you. But if you're not following the program, just spend a little bit of investment, invest in yourself some time to find some healthier alternatives to things that you love, so you can have them more often and you don't feel like you're missing out. The fourth and final point is being committed to actively learning and understanding why you're doing what you're doing. Now, we had someone mention before where they said something that didn't work for them before was that they had that was a program that you needed to keep continuing on. And I thought, well, yeah, and keep paying money to keep following. And that told me, okay, well, there's no component of education behind it in that program. So while you're doing it, you're not actually learning the principles behind it, the why behind it, the reason for it, So that's why a huge focus in the ThermoFit challenge is education. That's kind of what I feel sets it apart from other challenges, because of my background in one-on-one personal training and like nutrition for weight loss coaching, I wanted to not just give people the 6-week program and say, here, everybody follow this. I thought, well, how can I make this like what I believe in, and a way for them to just not be tied into doing my 6-week program all the time, even though you have 12 months access and you can do 4 group challenges in that year under your 1 registration. But it's about, I want to teach you the principles behind it. I want to teach you the reason why I've created the meal plan and balanced the macronutrients and don't focus on calories, why I've done that, why I've seen that it works, why I've taken the best things that I like from the low carb healthy fat and the paleo diet, and blended it in and left the things I didn't like out so much, like for example the extremely low carbs or the really high fat coming from dairy, lots and lots of dairy all the time, and also about the meat side of paleo. Like, that's not the main aspect of paleo diet. It doesn't have to include shitloads of meat. It just means it's natural, non-processed whole foods. So we can do that and still achieve that aspect of it without having the whole extra meat side of things. So whatever it is that you're doing, and thank you so much for the feedback I've got. They love the education component. No, thank you so much. That means a lot, because that's the reason why the results come long term. Because after the 6 weeks or after the 12 months, it's about empowering people to make better decisions in the long term, like so that you can look at a menu when you're out, and whether it's still in your 80% time and you still want to be on track and you want to choose the best thing on the menu, you know what to look at and what you can do to pick the best thing on the menu that's going to be aligned with your goals. It makes you feel, empowered to continue on that lifestyle long after. And you need to know that. You need to know the reasons behind why you're doing what you're doing, so that you can continue doing it if you agree with that and if you align with that. Okay, thanks, Rhonda. I didn't know what to call you, so that's really helpful. Thank you. Basically, if you are committed to continuing to learn and educate yourself, you are rewiring your brain. And it helps when you understand why you're doing what you're doing, and when you know the reasons behind it. Like when we're in week 3 in the ThermoFit challenge and you learning about what carbs do in your body, what protein does in your body, what fat does in your body, then it'll next time you look at like a really high carb meal, you might see it a little bit differently, and it just rewires your brain to think, well, do I really want to eat this right now because I know what it's going to kind of do to me? It just really changes our mindset there. So that's basically everything, my top tips in a nutshell, as quick as I could put that. If you're just joining now, I will make sure I put the live up on the feed so that you can watch it later, because I really do think that there's some gold nuggets here that you can take away and apply to any of your healthy lifestyle journey, whether that be the ThermoFit challenge, registrations close tomorrow in the evening, or whether that be any lifestyle journey that you're doing in now or thinking about doing. So we talked about getting started right for success, for longevity, for sustainability. We talked about a few mindset aspects, like my top 4 things around setting up our mind for the success, and then the top 4 of setting up our actions for success, and what the physical aspect, what we can actually do to create that success in the long term, and that is key. So I hope that some of you got a lot out of that. If you're still here and watching, please type in, let me know what was the one thing that I said in this last however long I've been talking, I don't know, that you think that you just went, yes, like that was like an aha moment for you? Like, what was it? Something that you think, oh, that's what I've been missing when I've been doing these things. Or, you know, something that you go, ah, oh, that's what I'm going to implement when I do the next one. Like, please write me a comment before I sign off, or afterwards if you're watching the replay, and let me know what the number one thing was for you. So 80-20, yes, definitely. And I've seen a few comments come up that people say they've just joined the challenge. Yay! Thank you so much for joining. You're going to love it, and it's going to just transform the way you use your amazing Thermomix and transform your healthy lifestyle and help you get in that direction. So prep week before a challenge, awesome. Yes, that's it's honestly not something that I always had there. I've implemented that probably within the last couple of years, because I just saw that, yeah, there was that last chance to start, people signing up, and then it was like, oh, what, I've got to go to the shops and do all my meal prep and all of my goals and measurements and all this in one day. Yeah, it's that prep week is just like a whole week to do those things, like a task a day, easy, really good. So I'm glad. Yeah, Cynthia, yep, now I know what this does to my body. Do I really want to eat this? Exactly. Yep, understanding it will change the way we think about it and viewing. And then just being more aware of what's going on in our body. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's huge to understand what happens in the body when we eat things, even what alcohol does in the body, and how it affects our weight loss and stress. All things like that, if we understand them, we are better likely to manage them and get on top of them and make better empowered choices. So, love to hear any more. I love the prep week. Awesome. Yeah, anything else, I would love to hear it, especially if you're watching in a replay. But I want to take this second to just thank everybody for tuning in on your Saturday. It's finally a sunny day out here, so I hope you enjoy the most of the sunshine. If you're in Queensland or wherever else has the long weekend with the public holiday on Monday, I hope you enjoy that. And just know that, yeah, the registrations for the 6-week ThermoFit challenge finish tomorrow night. But remember, you don't have to have everything ready by, you know, Monday. You've got that whole week to go through the content, have a look at it, go to the shops. I've got a total 6-week non-perishable shopping list for you so that you can do a bulk non-perishable shop and then just get to the shops each week for your fresh ingredients, like your proteins and your fruit and veg. So that cuts things down as well. You don't have to do that, but that's an option there for you. But yeah, thank you so much for joining, and I hope you have a lovely, lovely Saturday. Gonna sign off now. Talk to you soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.